I'm Stephen Harding, so I'm the head of service for Dorset Pathology. It's my role to bring pathology services throughout Dorset together as a single unified service. At the moment, we're running as 3 separate pathology services within Dorset. There's some little bits of collaboration, but it's my role to bring that together as a network and have a single pathology service. Pathology is involved in the diagnostics and monitoring of treatments. About 70% of the patients who come through the NHS will be impacted on by the results coming out of a pathology laboratory. It's very important for, in particular, some of the urgent results that come through are need absolutely essentially for patients in ED, critical care, etc. The other range is people having biopsies. We're standing in histopathology at the moment where they're looking at biopsies that will come through from patients with query cancer. It's very important that you get those results through in a timely manner so as they can make the diagnosis and actually know what's going on with that patient. There are, depending which discipline, because pathology is quite complex and is split into several different disciplines. The headline disciplines being histopathology that I've just mentioned, blood sciences and microbiology. Between them there are hundreds of thousands of blood tests and other tests being processed every year coming through these labs. So it impacts on a very high proportion of the patients throughout Dorset. It is increasingly difficult to manage staffing across 3 separate sites with particularly fairly small pathology services. Staffing both biomedical staff and the medical staff, they're very difficult to recruit, and in some areas a recent report from the Royal College has shown that only 3% of laboratories have enough reporting histopathologists, for example. So it's not uncommon to suffer from these difficulties. By bringing the labs together, by forming these networks, we will be able to support each other in a much better way than we can now. It's very difficult to support cross-site working when we're running as 3 separate laboratories.
I think about 2 or 3 years ago, the chief executive of the various organizations thought that we could start to work more collaboratively. And then there was the Acute Trust Vanguard, which later metamorphosized to what is now called One Dorset Pathology. And what One Dorset Pathology represents in essence is a pathology service in the whole of Dorset. And we recognize that there are a number of advantages in collaborative working. One, new recruits tend to want to work in fairly big organizations. So if we stand alone, it's a matter of time before we start to struggle to hire people and recruit people to our different departments. But when we start as One Dorset, we're bigger, we can invest better in new technology, we'll be more attractive as an employer, people will want to work and come to us, and so on and so forth.
The network solution would benefit the patients by streamlining the processes. To an extent it could be speeding up results. What we do is we split the requirements of pathology into what we call hot work and cold work. The hot work are the tests that are needed quite acutely for the very unwell patients, and they need those results there and then. And generally if you're an inpatient in a hospital, you want those results within a matter of hours.
The other huge advantage is resilience, because you can then have cross-cover arrangement by way of collaborative working. So if the piece of equipment, which is one of the things we're looking at, is the same in Poole, Bournemouth or Dorchester, if for the sake of argument somebody was to be off sick and you need someone to cover that same department, they don't struggle, it's just like the same thing. In fact, they won't know they are not in the exact lab. So it provides that good resilience. Because in order to be able to work together, your computer systems have to talk to each other. So if I'm seeing a patient, for example, in Bournemouth, I don't need, all I log in, if the computers talk to each other, I log in and I see the results straight away. Imagine me having to phone Bournemouth lab or Dorchester lab, the result gets transferred, you can have transcription error, things can go wrong, I may not get it. It's all quite messy. So we recognize that upfront that for us to work together, the key enabler actually is so fundamental to the whole process to have an IT system that speaks to each other. Dorset is way ahead of so many other nationally a lot of people are still talking together and trying to see why it's important to come together. We've recognized that it's hugely advantageous to us and to our patient and to people who commission our service and so on and so on, and the taxpayer obviously.